All right, welcome everybody. We got the whole Utah crew in the house. Utah B-Man, Glade Sessions, and Bracken over at Barker's Bees. Bracken is he's at the busiest time of his life, so we're lucky to have him for a few minutes. So we'll take advantage of all of that. There's a lot going on. It's been a couple of weeks because we've been bouncing back and forth and super busy. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Let's see. As everybody joins, just engage in the chat, and we'll try to answer any questions that you have. We got Roy from Michigan. Great to hear from you, Roy, and Jack and Danae, and then Grayson from Alabama. And so, just planning on having a good time tonight. Let's just explore what's going on in the bee yards. Bracken, you want to kick us off? What you up to?
Oh, I just pulled some boxes today. I pulled 33 deeps. Started this morning, and I did it a little different this year. I loaded them onto my flatbed. I put the pallets on the flatbed, and then I put the boxes up on there. And then when I got home, I unloaded it with the tractor. Just because I went to my littler yards today, and I didn't want to take the tractor to it. So, other than that, I've been farming more than I've been beekeeping the last couple weeks. We've got trying to get our fields prepped in case we get some moisture. Yeah, my beekeeping, like I said, last 2 weeks have been pretty. In fact, today was the first time I got in a hive, I think, in about 2 weeks. So that's what I've been doing.
Just trying to survive, trying to stay alive.
Yeah, between kids and football practice and games and dance practice, and yeah, it's been a chore.
Well, Bracken was telling us he took some of those deep supers off of his hive, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Glade, what you up to?
I've got my honey extracted and just feeding nukes. I actually haven't even been out to my other production hives since I pulled honey a couple of weeks ago. But the nukes at my yard are all getting fed, trying to get them fattened up for winter.
Good deal. Okay, well let's talk about the honey harvest. So generally speaking, Glade, why don't you tell us how it went for you?
It went pretty good. Surprisingly, as dry as it's been, the bees still brought in some honey. I didn't get quite as much as I'd hoped. I was hoping for a bit more, but I had a bunch of boxes that needed to be drawn out, so they started with empty foundation, and that always cuts into your honey production, but that's okay. So overall, it wasn't a bad year in spite of it being dry.
What about you, Bracken? What stage are you at in the honey harvest?
Muted.
Mute.
There we go. I got kids screaming in the background. So,
Yeah.
I'm just getting it ready. I'm putting it on pallets, got it in the little shed. I'm a little bit ahead of schedule. I usually don't pull it this early. I usually pull Labor Day weekend, but today I had some free time and I actually took work off today, and I'm just trying to get a little bit ahead of it so I don't do it all in one day. I really like how we did that out there in Alabama. It was a lot nicer than trying to cram it all in one day. So I did more than I thought I would today. I had the energy, so I kept going. And now I'm wishing I would have stopped. Probably I might fall asleep during this live session or so. But yeah, I'll let it sit there for a little while and then I'll go extract it. So I haven't extracted. I got 33 boxes, deep boxes, and I've got 17 left back on the hives. So I should have a total of 50 boxes by the time I'm done.
Nice. I got to pause for a second. We got some type of college football fandom going on. We got some Utes, we got some Cougars. Ross is funny. I work with Ross Colligan in the house. Ross makes some he makes some hot sauce from his fresh garden, and we got to make some hot honey with some of his stuff. We got to get together and we got some Clemson Tigers. Okay, Tiny, the Clemson Tigers. Just got to call out.
If I say go Aggies, then
yeah, go Aggies is all right. Like we love us some Aggies, right?
that's my alma mater.
That's cool, man. That's cool. A lot of folks from Roosevelt go out to Logan for the Aggies. Hey, I shout out to Johnny Appleseed. Super appreciate the super sticker there. Thanks for the $5. That's cool. And that helps. We enjoy. This is a hobby. This is fun for us to do, and that allows us to do it. Enough about football here. We got to answer. Ross is not a beekeeper, but he's interested in the hobby. He put, how does weather affect the taste of honey that you harvest? You have any thoughts on that, Glade? You're kind of the pro here.
It does to some extent. More so it's going to affect what blooms and what doesn't bloom, or what blooms quickly and is gone if it freezes. And nectar source is your biggest flavor changer. Just the other part of that is it's around here, it's been really hot and dry. We've had no moisture, and drier honey, when you get honey that has lower water content, it kind of concentrates the flavors a bit. And so you get a little, I don't really want to say stronger flavor. You get a little richer honey flavor out of honey that's 16% moisture, or like mine this year is down between 14 and 15%. That'll taste different if it was 18% moisture. Still good, but I like it just a little bit drier than that. I like it in that 16% range. I think the flavor profile is better. So yeah, weather does make a difference on flavor, but mainly that comes from the weather affecting which plants are blooming and for how long and how many in your area. Because my honey tastes different year to year, just because of what bloomed and what didn't bloom, or didn't bloom as long. It's close to the same, but it's never quite the same. If you keep a bottle of honey back from year after year, it'll be a little different.
Yeah, I agree with Glade. The big difference that I saw this year was actually the thickness of the honey. It was slow flowing, which was awesome. Like, it was really, really cool. I got to tell you guys, like, one of the so Jason, let's address Jason's question. So I've been in these live streams talking about how I always do pull my honey on Labor Day. It's true. I pulled this year mid-August. I'm actually done with my whole extraction. I only have 3 hives, so what's the big deal? It's still a lot of work, but I've got to tell you something that I found that I was fascinated by this year. So I was worried about pulling in August because I thought I would have less honey, wouldn't give them the time to produce the honey. But because it hasn't rained, here's my theory, and Bracken, Glade, you guys can weigh in on this. Because it hasn't rained and we're in a bit of a dearth, I noticed in my last inspection before I pulled the honey that they were eating some of the stores that they had. And spoiler alert, I'll put out the video on Saturday, but I had a record. I was really surprised by this, a record honey harvest, and I attribute a lot of it to polling 3 weeks early, actually. I could be wrong. That's just my theory, but considering how little rain that we received, and I still had a record year, I'm attributing that to maybe I shouldn't pull Labor Day. Like, August might be the time for me to pull. What do you guys think about that? Do you have any opinions on that, Bracken? I'm putting Bracken on the spot, holding the key.
Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I've kind of thought the same thing. when I pulled today, I had those 33 boxes sitting out, and there was hardly any robbing. They were content. They weren't after me like crazy, which makes me think. I know there is still a few alfalfa fields around here that are bloomed, but usually on September or Labor Day when I do it, usually it's a lot more intense. The bees are a lot more aggressive. They're robbing a little harder. So I'm kind of wondering the same thing, if maybe it is better to harvest a couple weeks before Labor Day. And I seen white wax today still on some of my frames, so they were still building wax this time of year. And I agree with you, Jed. I think the longer they go, because when that flow shuts off and there's nothing here, a box of bees can wipe out. I feel like they can eat a lot of honey really fast. And maybe, I don't know how long it takes them to eat out a couple frames of honey, but it's got to be, it can't be that long. If you have 50,000 bees in there, packed in there, and you got them, they'll go through that resources pretty quick, I think.
And for those new beekeepers out there, one thing that I've learned is it differs region by region. We got Justin on here saying, like, I think, Justin, where'd you say you were from? Was it Maine? No, that was Johnny that's in Maine. But the Labor Day might be the perfect time for you. In Utah, I've done Labor Day, but it might be better just to do it in August. What are your thoughts, Glade?
I like pulling mine in about mid-August. I was, about 5 days early. I was the 8th when I pulled my boxes. But I like doing it a little bit earlier. Of course, keep in mind, my winter's going to start about 3 weeks before you guys do. So I have to take that into account. But I like pulling it a little bit earlier. I used to pull it closer to Labor Day, but I found that if I do it a little bit earlier, you do have that problem that you're talking about, Jed, where the bees want to kind of clean out their stores a little bit faster than you'd like. But if we get any kind of fall flow at all, I let them have that and let them backfill, just start naturally backfilling that brood nest up. And I don't mind giving my bees a round of syrup, a gallon of syrup, just 1-to-1, just to keep them going. It'll kind of keep them from getting into that really robby, just mean, ornery state.
When do you do that, Glade?
I'll check them here this next week, and then I think what I'll do is I'll do some treatments real quick here next week, and then as soon as those treatment comes off, then I'll probably give them a gallon of syrup.
Okay.
What's today? The day's the 21st. 2 weeks for treatment, so about that second week of September, I'll probably give them a gallon of syrup, and I'll just kind of play it by ear and see if they're bringing something in. Most likely for me, that's going to be off somebody's alfalfa field, maybe some rabbit brush. If it rains a little bit and we get some moisture, then they can bring in a little bit in the fall. And if that's enough to hold them, then I'll just probably give them a gallon, and that'll be enough. And if not, then I might end up giving them a second gallon, because I'd rather them eat that syrup in the fall to keep them going than have them tear through their honey stores.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than honey.
Yep.
So Jason put this comment in here. He said he's pulling tomorrow. He'll just have to brush off each frame. It brings up this question. I know for a fact that each of us have a different tactic for pulling honey. Can we start there? I'd love to talk about your tactics. And Bracken, you were mentioning you just went through that today. You want to tell us what you did?
So I set on some of my most of what I pulled was, I had, most of them were two deeps above the excluder. I just used a fume board. Same thing we used over there in Alabama. I just sprayed them real good with some honeybee gone and set them on there and push them out. Then I tip it up and I use a blower, blow them out. But I also set some escape boards today on some of my single brood management boxes that have got, 3 or 4 boxes on top of them. I put those on escape boards, and I like the I think I like the fume board. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I run deeps, so I try not to move my boxes as much as possible. And if I set escape boards, I've got to go in there and pick them up, set them down, set my escape. Whereas the fume board, I can just work it down and only move the box once. But I like the escape boards because then when you go back and you grab it, you can just grab it and go, and you don't have to worry about fighting off any bees. He said he was going to brush them off each frame. I been watching this video. Charlie actually recommended it about queens. I can't remember who it was. Charlie, if you're watching, put the comment of who it was. But he was talking about how you just grab a thing of grass or like weeds off the side from your hive instead of using like an actual brush. And today I did that and it worked so great. I don't ever need a brush anymore. Like, it's one more of those things that like you can just grab from nature. I used some alfalfa today, and I used some like the little hitchhiker weed plant. I took the tops off and just grabbed a big handful of it and just used that as a brush, and it knocked them off, and they didn't get mad. It was slick. I can't remember. Charlie, there was a guy who said that a lady taught him that, but he's like a master beekeeper, and he's like, whatever, you don't use grass. Yeah, bees in the weeds. He's like, you got to use a brush, whatever. It's kind of funny because he talks about it. He says, and then I tried it, and he's like, oh my gosh, it worked so good.
It worked better than a brush?
Oh, way better.
Right.
The bees didn't even hardly flinch. Like, I just picked it up and I just rubbed all that grass. And at first I thought the grass was going to be like way too flimsy, but those bee brushes, they're pretty flimsy if you feel them. They're not very, they're not very hard. But anyways, I use both skateboards, fume boards. I've never brushed off every frame, but if I only had 2 or 3 colonies, that might be the way to go. I'm rambling now. I'll shut up.
No, that's good. That's a cute kid, by the way. Super cute kid. I like the haircut. It's my style.
He's the one screaming in the background.
That's nice.
He wanted to come talk.
All right, Glade. Cole, is that what you said?
Yep, Cole.
What's up, Cole? Glade, what's your strat for taking off this super?
I have always used fume boards. Until this year, I have I had 2 bee escapes. And because I had that hive lifter, I'm like, I'm gonna go just try those bee escapes. And the hive lifter made it really easy. Picked up the top supers, slid it in there, dropped them back on, and I was in and out of the hive in 20 seconds.
Yeah, that would be sweet for escape boards.
And then when I went to pull them, they were empty. I just grabbed the hive lifter, picked up the honey supers, loaded them straight to the trailer. I didn't have to blow anything off. I didn't have to do anything. So I'm leaning towards making a bunch of bee escapes and going that direction. And only because I've got that hive lifter. That really made the difference.
Do you have any inner cover lids that you don't use anymore? Or
I've never had inner. Nope.
I just acquired a bunch when I was buying people's equipment and stuff, and I actually took those and I made a triangle thing and I made them an escape board rather than buying a bunch.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
They work pretty good, but you got to remember too, bee escapes, if you leave them on too long, the bees will figure out a way to get back in. And bee escapes work both ways. Ask me how I know. Upside down.
Somebody put it on upside down.
And you don't pay attention. Yeah, all those bees go up instead of down and out.
Hold on. We got to pause for a second. because I've known Bracken now since, when did we meet Bracken? Like February, March, something like that. Bracken's talking to somebody. But this is, from what I know about Bracken, this is a classic. That is a classic Bracken move. Like you're just moving like, whoops, it was upside down. They'll figure it out.
Yep. Well, I didn't catch it until I took the lid off to pull the honey, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, why are all these bees in here?"
And now he's got to blow them all out. Now he's got them all mad.
You're like, these escape boards don't work.
Yeah, these skateboards suck.
So I did, like, Jason, you live close to me. I'm after watching Glade's video, I'm gonna do escape boards next year. I'm gonna go buy just probably 3 escape boards, and that's what I'm gonna do next year. It just looked super slick. How early did you say you put those on, Glade?
I had mine on about 4 days, and most of my hives had either 3 or 4 honey supers on them. They generally, I think most people will say a day per super.
Oh, okay. Is this true? You see Charlie's comment on there. What's your experience with that, Glade?
I don't know, Charlie.
He said,
we don't.
like,
it makes sense because they've got to cycle down. They've got to want to cycle back down through that escape. And if they don't have nectar, if they don't have a flow coming in, then they don't want to do that very well. So I totally get what Charlie's saying. It makes perfect sense. And I was a little worried about that because our flow is pretty well over. And I was kind of thinking, I don't know if these are really going to do much. But there was just enough still coming in that they cleared those supers. I grabbed the two hives I stuck those bee escapes on. I grabbed 3 boxes off of them all at once. I felt like a little like an Ian Stepler, grabbing all those boxes at once, throw them right on into the trailer, and walked away. I didn't even have to blow a bee off. There was nothing in there.
It looked awesome. You using that lifter, by the way, and I kept thinking, any minute something's gonna tip over. Any minute it's gonna tip over.
I have tipped one over.
But the camera wasn't.
The camera wasn't on me. I did what Joey did on one of his videos, just the exact same thing. When you pick up that hive lifter and you get those boxes up a little high, when you first pick them up, they want to lean out and away from you, until you kind of tip the hive lifter back towards you. And I did that when I was kind of checking hives one day. I picked 3 boxes up and they just tipped right over, right on the ground, bees and all. I just stood there and I just shook my head. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a bad day. And luckily my bees are gentle enough that I just picked up the boxes, put them back on the hive. 5 minutes later, everything was okay again. So
nice. It always works out. Hey, but before we move off of this topic, on the skateboard topic, this makes sense what Keith is saying. So Keith says here, the transfer bees need to be transferring for them to ever leave. So for those, Glade, you want to educate us on transfer bees and why what Keith is saying would work?
So let's just assume you only have a bottom entrance in your hive and not an upper entrance, but the same principle applies. And with a bee escape, then you don't want an upper entrance, right? So when the foragers go out and gather nectar and bring it in, they don't go through the entrance, up through the brood chamber, up to the honey supers, deposit the honey, and then back down through the brood chamber. They don't do that. They go into the hive, and somewhere near the entrance, they pass that nectar load off to a receiver bee. And the receiver bee is the one that goes up through the brood chamber and into the honey super and deposits the nectar into the honey super. That leaves the forager. They can unload real quick. They don't have to navigate through all the congestion through the brood chamber. they can unload really quick and be back out flying. So it's really an efficiency thing that the bees have figured out. If we hand this off quickly, then we can have a whole bunch of receiver bees gathering that nectar right at the door and not have the foragers wasting time trying to navigate up to the honey super. So you do kind of need that flow of bees going up, depositing the nectar, and coming back down for those bee escapes to work. And I was a bit worried that without much of a flow going on, I wouldn't get that up and down movement through the hive. But I must have had enough flow, and that might be part of the advantage of for here harvesting maybe a little bit sooner before things completely shut off, and still having a little bit of a flow going on. The other problem that Bracken, you might run into with single brood boxes and a bee escape, though, is just room. Having all those bees not have enough space below the bee escape, and they just simply don't fit down into that single box, and they may not want to exit out of the honey supers very well.
The last box closest to the bottom, usually I have to either blow it out or use a
makes sense with a single brood chamber. That doesn't
and it will be. They'll be all the way down. Even with the fume boards, you trying to cram all those bees into that single deep box.
Yeah,
they'll build up on the bottom, and you'll have that much of the whole box will be bees still.
It'd be interesting in your case to throw an empty underneath that before you start pushing them down, just to see if they would go through the bee escape then.
So when you install the escape board, put on like an empty
put an empty underneath it and see if the bees would vacate. Then that'd might be worth a try.
That's a good idea. Well,
it's just extra work pulling all those boxes off and then put the bee escape on, and then add an extra box.
That's what Roy does. Yeah, that's
and you see Ian Stepler do that, but he's still got honey. He adds like 3 boxes at a whack when he does his the first pull. But it makes sense. Give him some room. What are they going to do with it? Maybe nothing. And maybe they fill it back up and there's your storage for winter.
That's not a bad idea too, because for me, when I go from singles, I have to put a second one on there later anyways, because they have to be in double deeps to go to California. They can't be in singles.
So maybe that might be a good strategy for you to add that extra box.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That might be
once you pull your supers and feed them back a little bit of syrup and kind of give them enough weight back after pulling.
Yeah,
that'd be worth doing.
That's actually quite. Yeah, I might have to. Yeah, because I go back and add an empty later with comb, anyways. I just usually what I do is I take one of my honey super. I don't have my honey supers separated as good as some people, like with brood comb and honeycomb. Like mine's just kind of all around comb. Some of my really dark, frames I try to keep strictly on the brood, and then the lighter ones I do try to keep for honey. But in the past, I've just extracted, and then I'll just take an empty box with drawn out comb and go dump it on those singles so they can go back up, clean it up, and just start using it for a brood nest. But I ought to add it right when I take them off. That might be a better idea. I might have to do that with these ones that I've got. I like that, Glade. Good thinking.
So we started chatting about this a little bit, but what equipment do you use for? Let's go through each of us and see what our operations look like. What is your setup? What equipment do you use for the honey harvest? You want to kick us off, Bracken? Mute.
Yeah. Sorry. Terrible. So just at the start of my line, I bring the boxes in on a pallet. I set them there, and then I have a frame cracker that I made. I just take my box, drop it on there, crack it, and then I run it through a Cowan uncapper. It falls down into a tin tub that I had made from Nelson Sheet Metals here in town. They just made me a thing, and that's where all my wax and stuff drops. And then kind of the same setup we did in Alabama, and then I have a 60 frame Daydant extractor at the end, and it'll do deeps, mediums, shallows, whatever. It doesn't matter. It does 60 frames at a time. And then I drain into a bucket, and then I have not a cheesecloth, but those paint strainers.
Mm-hmm.
I put those in the 5-gallon bucket. I drain from the extractor into those, and then I take that bucket to the side, and I pick that cloth up, and I hang it from the rafters, and I let it drain into the bucket, and then I just put my lid on it and call it good. But
so you don't use a double strainer; you just use the paint strainer.
That's the only strainer I use as a 5-gallon bucket paint strainer. That's it. I don't use any other. I don't strain it any other time.
That probably speeds things up substantially on the filtering side.
Yeah.
What does the wax look like? Well, how much wax particle do you get in there?
Not too much. Then usually what I'll do is I'll take, because you will get some, I don't know, maybe a golf ball, sometimes maybe a tennis ball or baseball size, down there inside the thing when it's sun draining. Then I'll take that out, set them around or just out on the edge of the yard somewhere, and the bees find it and they clean that all up, and then I have a perfect little ball of wax.
Do you squeeze it out?
Sometimes, not all the time but sometimes I just throw them in a 5-gallon bucket and then just go put the bucket outside and let the bees do their thing. It drains over time.
How long do you hang it?
Maybe 5-10 minutes, if that.
Interesting.
It's just enough. Yeah, it drains pretty quick, especially if your honey's, not super thick. But as far as equipment, I just have a Daydant extractor. I have a Cowan uncapper. I have a wax melter. Yeah.
You're way more advanced than I am. I'm gonna tell you the hillbilly way in just a second. Glade, what's your operation look like?
I just watched my video. It just dropped this morning.
Ooh, there's a plug. Glade putting in a plug for his vids.
Yeah.
I just bring my honey supers in. I've got a capping tank, and I use a capping plane, which I like better because it doesn't leave as much wax particles coming out of the extractor. And then I've got a Hilco 24 frame extractor. Coming out of the extractor, I do the typical double screen going into a 5-gallon bucket. And this year it was really slow going, not because the screens were plugging up, but the honey was just so thick. It was just slow, painfully slow getting honey to drain through anything. It was just so thick, and but it's all I do once I get them through the double screen.
What's a double screen thing?
Honey strainer.
Is that the metal thing?
That's the metal.
The metal. They sit on a 5-gallon bucket. They've got 2 screens. It is a bottleneck. I agree.
I've used that, but I've never used the fine one. I've used the big one. But
just the big one.
Yeah, I just use the paint cloths now.
I noticed that Bruce used the double strainer for his operation, but their honey is so different. Like, it didn't slow him down. Like, that was my observation. Maybe I was seeing.
Well, yeah, he had those just one hand, just that one single strainer that he was using.
Oh, was it just a single?
Yeah, just a single, just
Was it
with a handle on it.
Was it the thin one?
No, it was the thicker one. It was the big one.
Okay.
And then he runs it through that hops.
Yeah, he runs it
inside
through
that other tank.
As it gets dumped into that big tank, they're going through those hops filters. So that first screen's getting any of the big stuff, and the second one's getting the a little bit finer stuff. But his honey is way thinner, more moisture in it, so it just runs through. I mean, it was hot there, but it just ran through those screens. You could almost just pour it right through the screen. My honey doesn't do that.
No.
I don't think Bruce uses the clarifier.
No, he doesn't. He didn't. I didn't see a
He
clarifier
didn't
when
the
I was
last
there.
2 times I was there. He never
What's the clarifier? What is that?
That's when it's on the ground, or like the tank that has the different, I think. Maybe
It's got a
Glade
series
knows.
of baffles in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it's a big long tank with a series of baffles, and basically the honey flows over one and under the other and over the next one and and by doing that, it skims off anything at the top and skims off anything at the bottom, and it just naturally gravity cleans things up. And by the time it gets to the end, it's
Paint filter.
I use the paint
Okay.
filter on my wax cappings, and it works really well. I just hang it there. I hang it overnight.
Put it like I said, this is what I do. I put the paint strainer inside the bucket, put the bucket underneath the extractor, let it dump in there, and then I just pick the paint strainer up, let it fall out, and then it's done one time. And then you can reuse those paint strainers, just fold it inside out and
Do it again.
kind of, and then I fold it back so it does whatever does stick stays still on the inside, but you can still get, but they're cheap. You can buy a thing off Amazon and get like 12 of them or 13 of them for like $5.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go do that next year. I have a few.
Try it.
But,
as
I gotta
thick
I gotta
as
go
my
to a
honey
rodeo.
was. Oh,
okay,
I'm
have
out.
fun at the rodeo, Bracken.
That
Thanks
is
for joining
messy, Bracken. Charlie says, "No, it's not, Charlie. You just got to be careful." Okay, you old man, you legend. It might be messy for you, but if you do it good, it's good. Love you, Charlie.
See you, Bracken.
See you guys. Thanks for letting me jump on for a minute.
Let's take a quick deviation, Glade, and help Amy out. Gigi's honeybees. She says, I need to do a mite test and treat if necessary. What is recommended?
what's your temps?
Let's see. Let me. What are the temperatures in southern Mississippi tomorrow?
The high temperature tomorrow.
High of 86, low of 67.
Oof. A bit warm for Formic or Apigard. You might get away with like a half a dose of Apigard at a time. So whatever the normal dosage is, cut it in half, and then you do twice as many treatments twice as often.
The only reason I'm going to put on Apivar this weekend, just because my understanding is that it works regardless of temperature, and I was just worried about the hotter temperature, so that may be an option.
Yeah,
Amy?
Apivar would be your other option, but do a good mite check after treatment and make sure the Apivar worked, because like Charlie says, the mites are becoming resistant to Amitraz, which is the active ingredient in Apivar.
Why didn't you guys tell me this before I bought it?
So not everywhere in the country are they resistant. So I don't know whether they are here in Utah or not. Honestly, I've never used Apivar.
I'll give it a try. I'll give it a shot this time, and I'll cover myself. My catch-all net is my OA sponges. I know those work because I use them all the time.
Well, those will keep mite numbers down if they're already down, right?
Yeah.
But if you're trying to knock mite numbers, get them back down from a high mite count back down to a low, you're gonna have to get a little bit aggressive.
Okay, that's good advice.
If you've got a cool down, if you get a window of temps that are below 80, then I start looking at Formic and Apiguard. If you can get about a 4-day window where the temps are below 80, yeah, Apiguard temps 80 to 85. Yeah, you can get away with that by cutting that dosage. I think the normal dosage is like 50 milligrams or 50 grams of Apiguard, and if you cut it basically in half or down to about 30, like Charlie's saying, you can get away with Apiguard, and you just have to treat more often. So maybe you treat Apiguard's like twice, 2 treatments at 50, and you might have to do 4 treatments at 25.
I think this year I'll kind of use what I'll probably do is the Joss's method here, where do the Amatraz, but then follow it up with the OA.
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully that's helpful, Amy. I met Gigi, so I know her name is Amy, but Gigi is what her grandkids call her. I think that's what the rumor is. Is that right, Glade? Am I remembering that right?
I think that's right. Super nice.
Yeah, she's great. Okay, the time is going. It always catches us off guard. Let's talk a little bit about I think somebody had a question about the moisture in the honey right here. Let's talk about that a little. We've mentioned that off and on. Let's get really specific about the moisture on the honey, Glade, and kind of what we saw this last weekend.
Moisture content. All depends. The general rule of thumb, I think, is your honey needs to have moisture content of 18.6 or below. But that's a general rule. It really depends on the nectar sources. Some honeys will ferment at under 18.6, and some of them won't ferment at over 18.6. But 18.6 is kind of what most people will shoot for. Around here, typically, I usually see something around 16%, just straight out of the hive. I never worry about my honey having too much moisture in it because we're so dry out here. This year was even more so. When I tested a couple of times, the first time I tested, it literally read around 13%. And I thought, oh, that can't be right. I need to go calibrate this refractometer. Went in the house, did the calibration, and I didn't move the needle at all. It was right. It was spot on. So I went back out to the shed, took another sample, and it was between 14 and 15%. But in Utah, we typically have no problem with moisture content. We're typically 15, 16, maybe 17% if you harvested really early. You caught it just as they were capping it, maybe.
Charlie's point on here is spot on. Like, sometimes it's hard to get out of the comb.
Yeah.
For real. Like, it doesn't all come out of the comb. It just won't. Like, you could spin this for days and
yeah.
coming out. This is the game we play in Utah, and I don't know. I'm guessing Idaho is the same, Wyoming is the same, Colorado's probably similar, but it is so thick. We do not have to worry about wet honey.
No, we never worry about wet honey. That's why when we were down in Alabama, I was shocked. Bruce, we started extracting Bruce's, and as soon as that extractor spun up just a little bit, man, you could almost turn that thing full bore right off the bat, and it would in 5 minutes that honey just come flinging out, just almost like water. That doesn't happen out here. Our honey's super thick. The best strategy I have for dealing with that is heat up the room I'm extracting in and get it kind of unbearably hot. If it's about 85 degrees, I think my shed got up to about 87 or something. Honey at 85 degrees, even when it's thick, flows way better than it does at 75. Oh, Justin, I run the extractor for over an hour. Our honey, I'm not sure, even if you let it run for an hour, I don't think some of it just doesn't come out because it's just thick.
Sometimes I've thought, is this honey crystallized? I just can't.
Yeah,
I can't get it out.
It's not, but it doesn't come out very easy.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I was agreeing with what Jason was saying. I got honey off one super 2 years ago. It was under 15%, closer to 14.
Yeah, thick. Yeah, that's exactly what mine was looking like this year.
You know those tools, you guys recognize the tools to uncap that are those rollers with the pins on them. So when we use those in Alabama, those would splash honey, like literally honey.
Yes.
You use those here and they get gummed up after one frame.
Yeah.
And you have to put them in cold water to clean them up. Like it just sticks.
Yeah. That honey in Alabama, Bruce said it's sticky and slippery. And I thought, no, honey's not slippery. It's never slippery. Oh, yeah. Just because it was so runny down there. I couldn't believe how runny it was. And yeah, you get down the floor, it's slick.
I had the same conversation with him. I was like, honey's not slippery. He's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, oh. And it was.
It was.
That is not the honey in Utah, though. It was sticky. It's sticky here.
Yeah, we were unloading those honey supers, and you had to be careful walking on that trailer to pick, we'd go outside and pick up a honey super, and you had to kind of shuffle across the floor of that trailer because it had a little bit of honey on it, and it was slick.
Yeah, so it's a fun game to play, and this is I'm learning more about the moisture content of the honey and just the different regions are so different. So Beth here is saying 13.6 to 14.1 when they pulled in Colorado. Okay, so they're in a similar boat.
Beth, Northwest Colorado, where you at?
Yeah, so that sounds similar to Utah.
Yeah, well, I'm northeastern Utah, so she's across the border here from me somewhere.
Oh, there you go. The legend. It'd be better to make a hot box for the supers out of 2-inch insulation and heat a lamp.
Yeah, but that'd be great. But I got 60 supers.
Yeah,
that's quite the hot box.
You need a big hot box. It's just a hobby. Just have a good time with it. Just make a hot box.
It'd take me a month to get my honey extracted if I.
Well, let's start putting a wrap on this. I forgot to mention we've got a giveaway. I still own. I've got Tiny Creek's gloves. I still need to figure out how to get his address. But we're giving away a hat from Apis Tactical today. So
he said he was having a hard time with his email or something.
Yeah,
right at the very first of the chat.
I'll save those gloves for him. But we're giving away a hat tonight. And the winner, just send me your address. I'll give you my email address and send it to me. Before we do the giveaway, any final thoughts on the honey extraction experience from you, Glade? And we need everybody go subscribe to Glade if you haven't, and go check out that video.
No, honey extractions it's one of those bittersweet things. It's hot and sweaty out here when you pull your honey supers. It's because it's so thick. I heat my shed up. I actually put a heater in my shed in the middle of the summer and heat it up to about 85 in there. So it's kind of a hot time extracting, but it's fun to get that honey and see what you're going to get out of it. But Glade has that dinosaur fossil flavored honey. For those that don't know, my area of Utah is also nicknamed Dinosaur Land. We have quite a bit of dinosaur fossils out here. So, yeah, but it makes good honey.
I'm just the extraction experience was great. It's a lot of work. I look forward to it. Social event with my padre, and
I can't believe you drag your honey supers all the way back out here to the basin for just to extract them.
I do it because beekeeping is like, I want to make it a family event if I can. Like, my kids aren't interested, but I force them to do stuff with me, and my dad pretends like he's interested, and so that, like, I can do it by myself and it would be fun and I can have fun out here, but it's kind of this tradition where I get together with my dad and that's what we do. And so yeah, just hanging out with my parents and me for 3 days, and we have a good time doing it. And so now our honey is bottled. I'm starting to sell it, and even going to start messing around with the wax soon. And I'll move this weekend into serious winter prep. I'll start feeding. I'll put in the Apivar and give that a shot. If everything dies in the spring, then I'll believe you guys that it doesn't work. We'll see.
Yeah, just do a mite count after your treatment and let's see what it looks like.
Ooh, Johnny, I still have hope that my wife might get interested. Okay. We'll see how that goes. I've tried so hard to get my kids, anybody interested, because I want, but I love beekeeping, so it's fun for me. What I have done is got my daughter interested, not in beekeeping, but in YouTube. So that was an unexpected benefit of starting a YouTube channel. So I'm grateful for that. All right, should we do the giveaway, Glade?
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to, everybody that can hear my voice right now, put in #hat. So I'll put that in the chat so you can do it, and then we'll capture the names. And if you tell me, I'll try to grab them as I see them. But #hat, and let's give this hat away. Even if you don't want a hat, throw it in there. And if only 2 of you put in, then that'll be all right. Justin and Jason will be grateful for it. So we got Justin, we got Jason. Who else we got? We got the legend.
Justin, Johnny, Appleseed, Redfish, Charlie, Jason, Roy, Mike.
Mike.
There's a
okay.
few
I got
more.
Justin,
Jason. There's
Charlie.
Gigi.
We got Gigi. Okay.
You got Roy, Mike.
Yep, I got Roy on there.
Redfish.
Yep. Okay, here we go. Who hat? What are you saying, Charlie? We got Apis Tactical. This is your next beekeeping hat. That's what my call is going to be right now. I'm calling that the legend Charlie is going to win this. We won't send it to Joss because it's too expensive to send it to you. We're grateful for him always being a good community member. Okay, let's do this. Let me share my screen. Give me a second. I don't know if I can share my screen. Present or invite. Share screen. No, it's not showing it. Okay, I'm just going to do it. Everybody, you ready? You're just going to have to trust me. Glade, who's your pick to win? Oh, I got to add Wesley also.
Got to add Wesley.
Okay.
I think
I'm guessing Charlie.
Roy's got it.
Roy's the winner. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. Oh, snap. Gigi.
Gigi's got it.
Gigi has won before. Here's the deal, Gigi. Gigi won a hat before. I'm pretty sure you won a hat. Didn't you, Gigi? If you did, I'm going to get you something else. How about a hive tool? So I'm going to send Gigi a hive tool. Is that right, Gigi? You confirmed that it was a hat you won before. We'll send you something else. But congrats anyway. Gigi's got, she's the lucky winner. And yeah, good game, Gigi. Okay, let's. So Gigi, you know the rules here. Let me put in my email address: jedsbeekeeping@gmail. And Tiny Creek, we need to figure out how to get your email working. But send me your address, and I'll shoot that over to you, Amy. Okay, Glade and everybody, it was great. Great having you join today. We'll do it again next week. We rotating over to your channel, Glade.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
next week on Utah B-Man. See everybody then.
Night, everybody.